Hello, everyone. We're going to start in a minute, waiting for everyone to log in. In the meantime, if you feel like it, you could write in the chat where you are joining us from and why are you attending this webinar. We are curious. So go ahead. Okay. Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's Gala webinar. My name is Isabella Massardo, content strategist here at Gala, and today we'll have the second part of the presentation titled MTPE Outside the Box. The first part was last week and was presented by Viveta Jean by herself. I'll put the link to the recording in my follow-up email in case you missed it. And today she is joined by Cristina Anselmi, who is machine translation lead at Electronic Arts, and Fernando Velasco, who is a data scientist also at Electronic Arts. You know already how it works. You can use the QA chat, you create a box to send your questions. You can use the chat to comment, a chat with the speakers and with us in case you have technical issues. We'll help you to troubleshoot. The webinar will be recorded. I'll send a follow-up email as soon as the recording is available on our website. And with this, Viveta, Cristina, and Fernando, I leave the floor to you.
Thank you very much, Isabella. So we're here with you after 1 week from the first part. Good morning or good afternoon. I hope you're all doing well. And thank you for being with us today. So I thought that after this first part where we explored all the theory about MTPE and the AI and the AI translation, now we're ready to go deeper in game localization and explore a specific domain and how things work. And also touch 3 factors: quality, cost, and turnaround times in this specific domain, because we all work in this industry, and these are the 3 aspects with which we, let's say, play every day. So for those of you that attend this for the first time, I'm Viveta Jean. I'm an AI language solution specialist and MTPE trainer. Basically, I'm a PhD candidate in translation at Bionian University under the supervision of my professor, Wilhelmini Sassoni, and I am also the founder of the Gala MTPE Training SIG. I'm very happy and excited to share with you that this special interest group is going to start again work on Monday, 16th of October. There is a related post on LinkedIn. And also I'm going to share more information with you the next days. And last, I'm also a linguist, so I provide translation, copywriting, editing, revision, and transcreation services. But today, the main focus and our stars, let's say, in this webinar are Cristina Anselmi and Fernando Velasco from Electronic Arts. So, Cristina, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Viveta. Hi, everyone. I'm very happy to be here today with 2 of my favorite people in the industry. One is my colleague Fernando, and the other is Viveta. Of course, we met several times. We collaborate a lot. I'm Cristina. I work as a machine translation tech and automation manager at Electronic Arts, meaning that I'm taking care of all the efforts related to machine translation for localization and also some of our automation processes related to tools and similar. I love technology. I really love innovation. I'm always, studying new technologies, looking into them and so on. So this time is a specifically interesting time for technology and localization, of course. And I've been working in the video game localization industry for a little bit more than 10 years now. The past 5, I've been focusing only on machine translation for video games. Starting the program of MT at EA, implementing it in production, and working a lot together with Fernando on several different very innovative projects like automated post editing, quality estimation, specific customized scores, and a lot of different things. So I'm happy to let Fernando introduce himself.
Thank you very much, Christina. So I'm really honored to be here. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. And a few lines about me: I'm a math and science person, or between you and me, an absolute nerd. I lead the localization, data science, and AI team, working with Christina a lot on very innovative projects, as she already mentioned. And in the past, I've been well, enjoying and suffering all machine learning related things, from the theory to the deployment, and it's a very it's a very funny way of working. So yeah, that's me.
Thank you very much, Fernando, and thank you both for joining me in this webinar, for accepting my invite. I'm very honored. So I would like to start this session with a warm-up and see what we consider as challenges, AI challenges in game localization. So let's start with this active poll, let's say, where you can write your answers. So I stop sharing for Christina to take over.
Yes.
We would like this to have this as an open discussion, let's say, for you to write whatever you feel, whatever it comes to your mind. It has nothing to do with the expertise you may have. Maybe you are not in the game localization, but based on your experience in the translation and localization industry, you can imagine some common points. So this is what we would like to have as a warm-up for the next slides, for the discussion that we're going to have with Christina and Fernando. So we have one: game developers may be reluctant to hire professional translators since they can use MT to save employment expense. Procuring relevant sources. So it has to do so far with the human aspect. Knowing all the nuanced lore of the game to be able to provide high quality translations. So this has to do with the style of the game and the cultural aspect. We see that there is this worry about the future and the role of the human in the loop. We always have this. And of course, we have the use of the correct tone and idioms. Christina, you know more about this and how challenging it is.
Absolutely. And it will come up again and again throughout our discussion for sure.
Handling certain specifics like variables and terminology. Very nice. This is a general point for all domains, actually, not only for game localization. And it was discussed in the first part where we were talking about NMT and generative AI and all the differences. Verifying and vetting data sources. I think, Fernando, you are more expert in this domain of whatever has to do with data falls under you.
Yeah, such an interesting challenge this is.
Good. Okay. So I think we have some things on the table to discuss about the challenges, and you very well guessed what are the challenges more or less. So let's go back to the presentation. So I'm going to share with you now this slide where I have all the AI challenges that I could think of based on the research that we have made so far and what was written around in blog posts, etc. And of course, the experience of the experts like Cristina and Fernando. So some of the challenges are, of course, as you wrote on the slide, on Slido, cultural adaptation, contextual adaptation as well. It is the gender and pronoun sensitivity, the character name localization, of course, whatever has to do with data, as you wrote, and this affects the ongoing engine training. So we also have data privacy and security as ethical aspects that in localization and game localization, we're talking in the cases, for example, of companies like Electronic Arts, of huge volumes of work. So in this case, we have ongoing content that is getting updated, and this continuous update of the content means frequent engine training. So everything is like a chain. Then we have multimodal localization, where we also have audio, image, and globalization. The regional variations are really important in the game localization because we want to have the content that is immersive and engaging for the specific region where the gamer is located. And I think more or less this is what is covered along with the player feedback integration, which is also related with the ongoing engine training and the workflow integration. So starting with this, with the challenges in game localization, I'm going now to share with you the agenda for today to have an idea of what is going to be discussed and how we're going to create this net of discussion. So we start with Cristina, and she's going to talk about machine translation post-editing and its impact. Then Fernando is going to share his insight and game localization with AI. And I'm going to share some aspects about how to optimize quality, cost, and turnaround times with AI. We will continue with the complexities of game localization by Cristina and how we implement AI in game localization with Fernando. I will touch again some ethical and cultural considerations of AI. We talked, I mean, in extensively in the previous part, in part one, but this is a good chance to recap for those of you that you were not with me. And finally, Cristina and Fernando are going to share their vision, what is the future of game localization with AI. And we will end with the most interesting part where you will take over with the interaction with polls and where we will share some facts and numbers with you about the latest technology. So let's start with Cristina and our Slido here.
Yes, thank you very much, Viveta. So I would like to start talking about the impact of MTPE by talking about the advantages of it. So I'd like you to think about which are the advantages of machine translation post-editing, because we usually talk about challenges, of course, but there are a lot of advantages. I have identified a couple, I would say, but I would like to talk about this and hear what you have to say. So if you want, you can just go to Slido there and type a little bit of your idea, and I can share the results. Let's see. I'm very curious to hear from you because, like I said, we usually talk about challenges and how difficult it is to apply machine translation and so on, but we hardly talk about the advantages. So let's see. Of course, we have always large volume to translate for gaming, and with machine translation post-editing, we can do it faster, and in this way boost productivity. The costs are definitely lower, although we need to think that preparing a machine translation model and taking care of all the training and everything can contribute a lot. So it's true that the cost of the actual full post-editing is lower, but what's behind might not be as much. This is a very interesting point, because it's true that post-editors can focus on more difficult parts, spending more time on them, and machine translation can take care of repetitive text and easy text. So this is a very good point, and something that, if the machine translation system used is good, can really help a post-editor. And this is the same, being able to work from a full text and polish individual parts, that's the same. So obviously the base is that a machine translation system is good enough to work with, and that can allow the post-editor to really take advantage of it. I will just show you in the slide that Iveta will share my ideas, but actually they are very similar. There is one point that nobody has mentioned that I would like to bring up. Maybe you agree or maybe not. Let's see. So increased productivity, new roles created in the industry, because some years ago there were no machine translation specialists. There were a lot of data scientists, but not very connected to localization. There are a lot of new roles like trainer for post-editing and roles that before were not there. So I think that these, of course, might have changed the industry, meaning that there is less work for a translator and more work for post-editors, but it also helped create a new role and new professional figures. Another thing that is important to stress is the change of cut tool, because of course the different cut tools that we use had to change and had to implement new features to be able to accommodate machine translation by, for example, simply connecting, creating new API connections to different models, but also integrate edit distance and edit distance methodology inside the cut tool, but also integrating quality estimation system integrated different models, for example, automated post-editing or anything like that. So even the tools had to adapt to it, and obviously they became more powerful. So it's an even more powerful tool for the post-editor to work on. And yeah. And now I would like to give the word to Fernando and talk a little bit about LLMs and possibilities of those, by starting with a very interesting question.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. So Christina mentioned plenty of advantages of machine translation post-editing. You're probably happy with it. You're probably on top of it. But I need to go to the other side again, to the challenges. And everyone's favorite tool probably is GPT, or at least everyone has probably tested it, right? And it's getting smarter, it's getting bigger, it's getting more complicated, and a great computing power comes with great cost. So I want to talk to you about, to change a little bit the topic, and talk about how expensive are things getting. When we speak about GPT 3.5, which was the first release some time ago, and GPT-4, which is now the one you might be using on the API. That can be used, of course, for MTPE, for example. And what's the cost ratio between them? What do you think it is? I wish you were right. Yeah, that was a clue, right? Yeah, it's 25 times more expensive. I mean, these are the public price rates that OpenAI has on their web page, and you can check it. But the thing is, it's getting even more expensive as the model gets bigger, and models being bigger, we will discuss it later, might be an issue. But before we talk about the models being bigger, once again, most of the AI-driven game localization approaches have been discussed. You've built them on Christina's poll, and she've mentioned it, cost efficiency, time efficiency, also consistency in translation. If I have a couple of segments that are similar, the translation is going to be the same, no matter if we're using the same model. It doesn't involve very much the decision of the translator. However, on the cons, the engines, the models, the machine translation models don't have cannot get the cultural nuances that the human can get. So the translation is going to be maybe a little not that emotional, perhaps, right? It's getting better. Everything is getting better with time, and it's getting more nuances. But that's one con that I would like to discuss. Same thing with human touch. We're looking at the same thing. And one important thing that might not be considered is the technical limitations. How would you add a machine translation system into your current workflow? How would you do it? Would you have the machines? Will you have a technical team that is dedicated to that? It might not be easy to just put it in there. So there are also some technical limitations to that. And some examples on the cons. So this is a fun example. Your party awaits. So it can be a party as a group of people in the RPGs, for example, or your party like people having fun, right? So how would a machine translation engine translate this? It doesn't know anything about the context. So if the game is an RPG, probably your party awaits is going to be a group of people. Well, that might be fair depending on things. Some of the models are very powerful, and what they try to do is keep adding text. And if they don't know what to add, they might add just senseless things. So, for example, back to the LLMs, back to the GPT examples, if you ask those one question and it doesn't know the answer, it's just going to make up the answer and put it in a way that it's plausible to you. The same thing can happen within translations. It doesn't know how to translate a thing, but it will just make things out. And if you don't know that language, that might be a very big problem. There is also another con on the gender bias. So models are as biased as the data that they have been trained on is, right? For example, this is an example. This is probably not happening anymore, but 1 year ago it happened. So if you get this concrete sentence, she's a doctor, he's a nurse, and then translated to, I think I was using Turkish maybe, translated to Turkish and then back to English, you will see that the genders are changed. So the back translated sentence will become, he's a doctor, she's a nurse. Why? Because the data is biased in that way, and the model will consider that it's more plausible that a male person will be a doctor, a female person will be a nurse, and that's clearly biased, and that's clearly something we don't want to have in our models. I think Viveta is going to talk about that in a couple of minutes. So those are kind of the cons. But one of the things we can do is, I think this is one of the things I like the most about our job around machine translation and so on, that is thinking outside the box. There are plenty of new things to be added to the workflow. Are them to be used in the way that we are currently using our solutions? Probably not. So we need to find a way to do the same things but better, right? And this is where creativity happens. I tell it to my team many times. Let's just try to think, how would you do this thing differently? So this would probably improve our own as humans adaptability, and also the system adaptability, the machine translation adaptability and its flexibility. We would improve the resource utilization. And maybe the most important point is that if we think outside the box, if we keep trying to find new solutions to the problems we already have maybe solved partially, we will keep improving our solutions and ourselves in the end. In the next part, Viveta is going to talk about one of the most interesting challenges, that is cost optimization.
Okay, thank you very much, Fernando. And this was a great invite to embrace the future, to embrace the technology, AI, and not be afraid of it. So this is the direction that we would really want to go. And now we're going to touch a little bit this critical aspect of optimizing quality, cost, and TAT, which is what the industry actually wants to achieve. And now, I'm going to put some weight on you, and I'm going to ask you how to optimize quality, cost, and TAT in the AI translation era. What do you think? So let's go with this poll to see your ideas before I reveal mine. First thing, ethics. And it's so true. And when I see the word ethics lately, because I read a lot about ethics, and I had a comment recently about this. We're always talking about ethics and AI, ethics and AI. But finally, ethics and translators, ethics and translation, and the code of ethics of translators is really what we need to think of, because there is the self-development of the translators and the ethics of the translators in order to optimize all the three factors of quality, cost, and TAT in the AI translation era. And prompt engineering. And this is another aspect. And I think that this is a very good point, as long as this is translated and interpreted in a way that prompt engineering is combined with AI assisted translation technology, and not like a tool on its own. Because when we talk about prompt engineering, maybe we all think about ChatGPT when we are not data scientists. Expand the skill set. Yeah, this is my favorite topic about training. Without the training, then, you know, AI and all this discussion becomes like a huge bomb, which is about to explode in the hands of people who do not know how to use it. So yes, this is about self-development. And you also say usability data, advanced QA checker, for sure it helps there. And redefine workflows. Yes, this is something that I think everybody is working on. And it is very closely connected to the QA process. So as this is a word cloud, add all of your ideas. We're going to prepare something nice for people on LinkedIn to see how we feel about quality, cost, and TAT. Okay, nice. So Thank you very much for the guessing, and let's go back to the presentation. So here, I'm going to share my insight about how to optimize quality, cost, and TAT. I believe that this is a topic that we need hours to discuss and bring ideas. And as long as we discuss, maybe we brainstorm and bring something new in this AI era. However, what I could find is that one thing is pre-processing and data cleaning. So AI-driven MTPE optimizes quality, cost, and turnaround time. And taking this from a broader perspective, everything starts from the interaction of humans with AI at the pre-processing and data cleaning level. So what is data pre-processing and AI? It is an important step in the data mining process, and I think that this is where Fernando could add more. So it refers to the cleaning, transforming, and integrating of data in order to make it ready for analysis. And the goal of data pre-processing is, of course, to improve the quality of the data and to make it more suitable for the specific data mining task. So if data cleaning is faster, then the training set is of higher quality and the empty output is better, leading with a lower investment to a higher return, keeping always the human in the loop. This is one thing. Second thing is that whatever it happens in this world and whatever is the advance with AI, the magic thing is that human is in the loop. So the assistance of AI with the adaptation of machine translation system is to be specialized towards a specific domain or topic. This is the point. Then we have rules-based machine translation, statistical machine translation, neural machine translation, and deep neural machine translation systems that can be customized. And this means that we have faster translation delivery and significant reduction of the effort of machine translation post-editing, as the engines are built using industry-specific data. And of course, we have better consistency. So AI-enabled tools allow linguists, and this is a very important point that we all need to understand, to interact with automations in the use of glossaries and translation memories. And this means that a fuzzy match with the help of AI may be automatically reviewed, and the glossary may be automatically updated to reduce the effort of machine translation post-editing. And the same goes for quality assurance checks, as very well you mentioned in the previous word cloud. AI enables the automation of the process in a way that the effort of the post-editor is significantly reduced. So I think that the most important part and where we are going, because you said something in the word cloud about the workflows and how they're going to evolve, is the collaborative workflows. An important AI feature towards the optimization of quality, cost, and turnaround times is the AI knowledge base. An AI knowledge base is a sort of centralized repository that captures, organizes, and distributes knowledge. So this means that during the translation or the MTPE task, all the interactions of the linguist with the tool are leveraged. AI is used in an assistive and collaborative way to translate text, fix spelling and grammar mistakes, condense potentially long text, modify tone and language, and even provide summaries for long documents. And this also means that the user is also trained through this interaction in parallel with the machine. So it is obvious that when we're talking about AI, we're talking about a very promising evolution where human is in the loop, human leverages the tools and controls all the processes, and there is an interaction between human and AI assisted tools And through this collaborative model, engines are improved. And the benefits, as we all know, are multiple, like less effort for the linguist, better return on investment for the companies and end clients, faster production with benefits for all parties, and improved quality with the assistance of AI-driven quality tools. So let's continue with the complexities of game localization, which is of interest. And Christina.
Thank you, Viveta. So yeah, I'm sorry. We've been talking about AI a lot. A lot of people are talking about AI, but we have been using AI in game localization for quite some time now with machine translation. So I know that probably you have answered this question a lot of time, but I would like once more to hear from you. Now that AI is a little bit more popular, let's say, do you think that MT and MTPE is a good fit for video games? And I will share. Oh, where is it again?
We do have the answers of the people. We have 7 answers.
Let's see.
Fantastic.
I'm very happy to see, yes, obviously it's not like 100% or 99, but I think that if I had asked this question probably 1 year ago, I would have had many more no's than yes. So I'm happy that this is changing. And following up on this, I have a follow-up question, obviously, which are the challenges of MTP? And this time as well, we have I'm giving you the possibility of expressing. So let's see what you come up with before I share my ideas, which are most likely going to be the same. Is it active? Can you probably yes, right? Yeah. Let's see. So the aim of this is understanding again which are the challenges of MT, to then talk about how we can leverage LLMs and new technologies to try to solve them and see if this is something that can be done, or if this is something that cannot be done, and if yes, how, and what could be the future of gaming localization.
And here there is a big confusion. We can discuss this after the webinar about LLMs, because there is one way to talk about LLMs when you talk about the technology and behind Google Translate, etc. And there is another way to talk about LLMs when you talk about ChatGPT, for example, where the work of LLMs, let's say, is assistive. So in the world of translators and post editors, this is a really mixed up thing.
Exactly. That's why a lot of investigation today, I would say, is focusing on, should we use LLM to translate, or should we use LLM to modify the machine translation output? And this is what we will talk about a little bit later. Main challenges are dealing with terminology, of course, tone, idiom, slang, like we said before, multi-meaning words, like Fernando explained before. It can limit creativity, of course, because video game text is very creative, especially dialogue. So obviously, if you have already a text there, you are biased, let's say. So obviously you're more prone to use that text. MTPE is coining new terms. That's a very interesting one that maybe we can talk a little bit more about. But as I can see, everything is connected to tone, to idioms, to slang, to creativity, to terminology. And this is absolutely what I think as well. Feel free to add more words while we continue with the presentation, so that we can follow up maybe in one of our groups. This is what I thought as well. Obviously, creativity, gender biases, inclusive language, it's very hard to follow up with the very much needed inclusive language that finally is becoming more and more important in localization. The presence of variables, but also a lot of resistance by different people still, because of course, because of all these situation and all these biases that are out there actually, not everyone wants to work with machine translation post-editing. So it's not that easy to find people that are willing to work with this technology and have the necessary open mind to actually work with it. Now that we have talked a little bit about MT and the challenges, we can also explore some possibilities of the use of LLMs applied to machine translation. So if you go to the next slide, we have obviously Fernando and I have been working and are working a lot in this, doing a lot of tests and so on. And we have, you know, just like done some brainstorming and see which can be the possibility of the future, but it's not like a faraway future, is the next future. That's why we need to test a lot of this. And what we have come up with is working on translation memories, for example, doing some lookup, trying to clean them. We talked about cleaning data, for example. So we can definitely apply these technologies to prepare our translation memory, to train our model better. We can work with models and try to improve low resource languages. You know that machine translation is not working the same for all languages. So there are some languages that have not that much data, and obviously the results are not great. So maybe we can improve them a little bit by using LLMs, and obviously automated post-editing, integrating glossary, and so on, but much more that Fernando will talk about right now.
About the low resource languages, there's a paper that is from today that there are ways for kind of cheating GPT-4 using low resource languages. It would speak on low resource languages, but some of the checks that they have when you ask about things, maybe the profanity checks, are not working that well on low resource languages. But it's interesting. It's a very interesting way to explore the possibilities on that. Possibilities and limitations, again, I'm more on the right side. So everyone's hyped with the new technologies, the many possibilities. You can query domain data very fast. You can query for similar translation into a database just with your own words, and it will be so fast. Of course, the post-editing Christina was mentioning, and maybe not entirely on MT, but the creation of drafts when I need to send an email, especially when it's not my language, I can create very fast a draft, and I can just work on that and add in some points. I can summarize, for example, a meeting. So possibilities are huge. But what about the limitations? This is where I need to focus the most, because most of the people tend to be hyped with all the great things that they're seeing. So prompting, we've mentioned before, prompt engineering is something really cool for the future. Prompt engineers is something, a new profession that appeared. Christina was mentioning that before. But prompting is so hard and so hacky, let's say, that maybe the prompts that work today will not work tomorrow. we need to be careful if we are having one LLM in our production set, and we're relying on a prompt, and then the model updates GPT-5, let's say, is it going to work better with the old prompts? Maybe not. So we need to be careful with the prompting. The cost, I've mentioned it before on the increase from GPT 3.5 to GPT 4, and it's so huge compared to the old models. Language models have been around for at least 5 years. GPT 4 is the most powerful, let's say, or at least the most expensive one. And the latency is something also important. When you're working with these big models, they need big computation and big machines for doing that. It will return the responses with a certain latency that might not work depending on what you want. If you want instant translation, for example, it might take seconds. Okay, I can work with seconds, but maybe your application does not. So you need to at least be aware of that. The hallucination thingy, I'd really love to trick GPT-4 and try to ask questions it cannot answer. For example, it can understand the relationship between a father and a son, but not the relationship between a son and a father. And when you ask things, it just makes it up, right? So it's something we need to be very careful. They tend to be overconfident on everything they say. That's the way they have been trained. So they will rather reply something they don't know than telling you that they don't know about the answer. Maybe that's something you can include in the prompt. There has been some experiments in including, if you don't know the answer, just tell. Data leakage on privacy, sharing personal information, sharing any confidential things can be leaked even to OpenAI or the owner of the model you're using. And that can be leaked as new data that might appear in somebody else using the model if the privacy is not clear. So those are some of the limitations that I've seen.
Thank you very much, Fernando. And we always talk about ethics, and this is a central point. And Fernando and Cristina also mentioned this, and you mentioned it before. So here we see some items like stereotypes, local norms, symbols and references, religious beliefs, gender and pronoun, humor and wordplay, and inclusivity. And these are items and points in a translation and aspects that entail sensitivity, cultural sensitivity, and here is where we need to be careful with the use of AI and any latest and recent technology so far. So we already touched this, and it's not something new to you. I will not go into detail. I just wanted to wrap up this and somehow have it all in a place for you to have the idea, because we have more things to cover in this webinar that you will really enjoy. And the same goes about the ethical considerations. So we have some things like environment impact, the local laws and regulations. We know that there is, like Fernando said, this breach of local laws and regulations, and we know how they deal with bias, and that there is not always fairness there. The data privacy is not secured, and the intellectual property and copyright. So one main point I would like to raise in this webinar is the ethics when it comes to transparency about the use of AI. Because, you know, even me, when, for example, I post something, I may use AI to produce this. So not to produce it from scratch, but maybe to edit. In this case, wouldn't be ethical for AI to mention that this is credit to AI, for example, because we got some help? Or would it be unethical or somehow embarrassing to say that we use AI to edit something? So these are things that we need to consider when we're working with clients, for example, because it's good, and I'm naming myself somehow an AI language solution specialist, meaning that I reveal to anyone working with me when I use this AI-driven solution for languages, it's good for them to know, because they know the risks, they know if they want to take the risk, and we never go ahead with a service without the client knowing about this. So I think that this transparency, it is again in the code of ethics of the International Federation of Translators, and transparency comes from start to end, from the LSP or from the end client until we go to the end of the post editor or the translator. And this is something that I would like to raise as a concern, because I don't have an answer for this. We know that we all use ChatGPT and AI in an assistive way or on its own as a technology, but how do we handle this? I think that this is a separate roundtable for discussion, and it has not happened so far because it's really sensitive. So let's go ahead with the future and what are the aspects. Christina, what is the vision that you have with Fernando about the future?
Well, yeah, it's very hard to predict, of course, because the technology is so new. So we need to do a lot of different tests and so on that we are actually carrying out now. But what we think might be really the future of video game localization is not just using GPT to translate everything and generate voices and everything and so on, but to use it to enhance the technologies that we have at the moment. And this is super exciting. Obviously, what we need to do at this time while we test everything that we can, comparing it with what we have right now and so on, is also managing expectation, especially by sharing how this technology works, especially with the people that are not familiar with it, because we need to make sure that people understand the potential of it. That is great, and obviously it can definitely shape the industry in a different level, but they also need to understand the limitation, and that it's going to take time to really implement it in the best way possible, because the intention is not to replace human, absolutely, but the intention is to empower humans to actually do their job in a better way and be an active influencer to the technology. So, and this is what I think. And I also asked actually GPT what he thinks about the future and so on. And I have to say that it's in line. It's obviously, it doesn't mention limitation and stuff, but it says that it's exciting and full of potential for innovation and growth. But apart from that, I mean, I'm very, very excited about this technology, and I'm very much looking forward to sharing more as soon as Fernando and I have like concrete cases. But yeah, this is my takeaway, less technical than the one that Fernando will share in a few minutes.
Yeah, one of the things that you mentioned in the previous slide is the multimodality, including more than just the text for that. So it's like not a single source of knowledge. You can include images, you can include voice, you can include other things. That's one of the things that is currently leading the most of the research in academia. I think GPT is going to increase its service to add that. Also in the near future. There is also one interesting thing that Viveta was kind of mentioning. So it's called chain of thought within the LLMs. It means essentially that you would ask the model to explain the steps it's going through, and have a clear prompt on first think about that, then check that you're not wrong. But can it be done also within the intervention of a human? Let's say I don't want the translation to be at once. Maybe let's talk about that. But maybe I will have the machine translator interacting with it so that the translation might be perfect. Can you bring more? Can you have a translation that is happier? Can you change the things to be more inclusive with a couple of human interventions? It's similar to a chain of thought, but with the human intervention, and that might be interesting. But chain of thought, as it is, it's another way of where academia is leading their research, so the model can do it on their own. Distillation is essentially trying to find out how could smaller models do the same things. So far, it's, I mean, I don't know about the size of GPT because it's hidden, but most of the LLMs are called L. The first L is for large. They're so big, so small, so expensive. If we could get that knowledge and kind of distill it into something smaller, that will be great, because it could help us adding them on many productions. So this is another way on which the research is heading. And,
fantastic. Now, I want to ask something because we have 4 minutes left.
Okay.
I would like to ask the audience if they would like us to go with some time for their questions, or if they would prefer to share the polls that we have prepared and answer these by us sharing the correct answers. And it is about facts and numbers regarding AI that you may be interested in. What do you think?
Shall we have a poll about this on Slido? I'm joking.
We don't. But let's see what is the balance.
I see someone saying facts and numbers, please.
Okay, let's go with this then, Isabella. Allow us this time. So I would like to thank you, because we will not have the time later. Thank you, Fernando and Cristina and Isabella. And let's go ahead with, and everyone attending, of course. And let's go ahead with the polls.
So, LLMs can be used for suggesting things, like I've mentioned before, the drafts. And for some of you that might not be into programming, it could be a good way for kind of learning how to program or having these things. And what do you think is the average, or at least a good percentage of accepted code suggestions so far in the current state of LLMs? And I'm talking about the big LLMs. I'm talking about GPT-4 or GPT-3. So it's still exactly good one. So it's around 40%, more or less. So it means that half of the code suggestions are not accepted as it is. So we're not going to be replaced that easy. The programmers are not going to be replaced. However, it's such a good tool for us to keep improving. We mentioned before the prompt engineering. The prompts, the models do the inference depending on the amount, on how long your input is. If you, and how long the output is. If you ask, be concise to your prompt, how much money can you save? So far, no one is right. Yeah, now what is? So between 40 and 90% of the money that it costs, just asking, be concise to the prompt. It's very much. What else do we have? Okay, small LLM from scratch. It means it knows nothing, and we have a big data set, 1.4 trillion tokens. How much do you think it can cost? Well, spoiler alert, it's the most expensive one, $1 million. It's really, really, really expensive. I'm sorry, I'm sharing the answers before you are able to reply, because we have not much time. And the final one. Instead of training, fine-tuning means that you already have something that has been trained, and you want to tweak it to fit into your domain a little bit. How much do you think it could cost? This is a smaller one. It's called Da Vinci, and it's on Shakespeare works. That is not a very big data set. So 200 is a good bet, but it's even cheaper. It's around $40. However, those numbers might be challenged. The thing I want to emphasize is that it's much, 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 much cheaper than training it from scratch. Okay, so $1,200,000 or $40 is really cheap.
Okay, great. So I think we gave some data. Let's share a little bit the last slides that we have here for people to be able to reach out. So we talked about 16th of October. We start with the Gala MTPE training SIG, and Christina is going to be with us. And thank you very much for attending. Once again, here are the LinkedIn profiles of our speakers today, so you can reach out to them in case you would like to connect. Thank you very much. Thank you, Fernando. Thank you, Christina.
Thank you very much.
Thanks a
Thank
lot.
you all. Thank you all for this great presentation. I just want to say when I close the webinar, you'll see the feedback form. Please take a couple of seconds to fill it in and let us know what you think of this presentation. Send us suggestions for future webinars and let us know if you want to present at a Gala webinar. That's also possible. I'll follow up with an email, as I said, with a link to the recording and a few announcements about what we have scheduled for the month of October. And of course, the link to our call for proposals for Gala Valencia 2024. Thank you guys again. And please come back and share more results about your work and experiments.
Looking forward to
everyone.
that. Thank
Great.
you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.